Let's talk about Mercury. It's the closest rock to the sun, so it must be a scorching inferno 24/7, right? Wrong. It's actually a world of brutal extremes. At night, it drops to a bone-chilling negative 180 degrees Celsius. But when the sun rises, it shoots up to 430 degrees Celsius. This wild swing happens because Mercury lacks a thick atmosphere to trap heat, leaving it with just a flimsy exosphere. Now, you won't need an umbrella, there's zero weather, but you will face blinding solar radiation 7 times Earth's levels and absolutely no oxygen. Landing there? A total nightmare. It's our smallest planet, totally covered in jagged cliffs and massive craters. Worse, with no air resistance to slow your spaceship down, a high-speed crash is highly likely. Landing by day is impossible. NASA's spacesuits max out around 121 degrees Celsius, totally useless against Mercury's 430 degrees Celsius. Plus, daylight there lasts for months. Landing at night, just as fatal. You'd freeze solid since those suits only survive down to negative 157 degrees Celsius. Your one and only shot is the Terminator Zone, the narrow border between day and night where the climate is actually survivable. But stay on high alert. Temperatures there can shift incredibly fast. Venus. It's our closest neighbor, sitting just 40 million kilometers away. A space road trip there would only take about 4 months. Plus, its size and gravity are almost identical to Earth's. Sounds like a great spot, right? Well, don't pack your bags just yet. See those stunning glowing yellow clouds as you fly in? Yeah, those are pure sulfuric acid. One breath of that, and your lungs are toast. Let's pretend you have an indestructible spacesuit. As you drop down, visibility vanishes. That thick atmosphere is a massive blanket of carbon dioxide, locking in a suffocating 450 degrees Celsius. And it's incredibly gloomy. The clouds are so thick that barely 10% of the sun's light actually reaches the ground. Once you land, just walking is a brutal struggle. Even with normal gravity, the air is so dense, it feels like wading through heavy syrup. How long could you survive? Maybe seconds. The surface pressure is 92 times heavier than Earth. Quickly, that immense pressure would crush your high-tech suit like an empty soda can. And the second it cracks, the toxic acid finishes the job. Let's cross Venus off the vacation list. Moving on to the next scene, Mars. Out of all 8 planets, the red planet is actually our best shot at finding a second home. During the day, it's really not too shabby. Temperatures can climb to a mild, comfortable 20 degrees Celsius. But the second the sun sets, brace yourself. The temperature plummets to a brutal negative 153 degrees Celsius. Just like Mercury, the atmosphere here is incredibly thin. It's almost completely made of carbon dioxide, with only the tiniest whisper of oxygen. Taking a deep breath is completely out of the question. That thin air also brings 2 massive invisible threats: dangerously low atmospheric pressure and intense radiation. Mars gets blasted with 24 to 30 rads of natural radiation that is 40 to 50 times higher than what we get back on Earth. On top of that, beware of the weather. Mars is famous for explosive, violent dust storms, with winds ripping across the rocky terrain at up to 100 kilometers per hour. If we ever want our little two-handed guy to survive out there, he's going to need a seriously tough, airtight, and fully insulated life support system. Next stop, Jupiter. It's the absolute giant of our solar system, and arguably the most brutal one to visit. The biggest killer? Extreme radiation. Even 300,000 kilometers out, it would easily pierce a normal spacesuit. But for the sake of our stickman's grand adventure, let's pretend he has a magical, indestructible suit. Jupiter's gravity is 2.4 times stronger than Earth's, so you are falling incredibly fast. First, you smash through white clouds of frozen ammonia at a bitter negative 150 degrees Celsius, getting battered by insane winds reaching 482 kilometers per hour. Fall 150 kilometers down, and you pass the deepest point NASA Galileo probe reached back in 1995. From here, the light fades to pitch black. The heat and pressure rapidly skyrocket. After hours of freefall, you hit the inner layers. You aren't falling anymore, you're swimming through a bizarre, supercritical fluid not entirely liquid, but not quite gas either. Sink even deeper, and you are instantly trapped in a crushing ocean of liquid metallic hydrogen. If our two-handed hero somehow pushed through that, he'd hit the core. A boiling mystery zone baking at 24,000 degrees Celsius, roughly 4.5 times hotter than the sun. so no suit is saving him from that. Welcome to Saturn, the second largest planet in our solar system, and a massive gas giant of hydrogen and helium. The very first challenge for our little stickman? Dodging the 146 moons buzzing around it. Next up, those iconic rings. They aren't a solid track. They're a chaotic obstacle course of shattered moons, ice pellets, and asteroid rubble. Let's assume our two-handed hero has an indestructible ship and safely threads the needle. Approaching the equator, he'd be greeted by spectacular red and purple auras lighting up the sky. Beautiful, right? Until the 1,800-kilometer-per-hour hurricane winds hit. Trying to sneak in through the North Pole is even worse. There's a colossal storm up there big enough to swallow 2 entire Earths, wrapped in toxic ammonia clouds freezing at a bitter minus 250 degrees Celsius. As he falls deeper, the temperature actually warms up to 0 degrees. But now, crushing pressure takes over, mimicking the pitch-black bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. Soon, the gases squeeze together so tightly they morph into a liquid. If he somehow sinks all the way to the center, he hits a molten rocky core 10 times the size of Earth, baking at a blistering 11,700 degrees Celsius and crushed by 1,000 times Earth's pressure. Our poor stickman wouldn't stand a chance here either. Next up, Uranus. We're getting seriously far from Earth now, meaning a massive, lonely journey. Uranus is one of our 2 ice giants, and it is completely unique because it literally spins on its side. It's a fast mover. A whole day flies by in just 17 Earth hours. And by the way, ice giant doesn't mean it's a giant snowball. It just means it's packed with heavier elements than hydrogen and helium. Approaching the planet, our stickman pilot has to dodge another set of rings. Make it past those, and he hits a solid wall of toxic gas. Instantly, the temperature nosedives below minus 200 degrees Celsius, officially making it the coldest planet in the solar system. If the poison and deep freeze don't end the trip, the descent will. As he falls through the dense outer layers, he'd be violently battered by a storm of heavy ice pellets. But then, the ultimate spectacle. He'd witness a literal storm of diamonds raining from the sky, whipped around by vicious 900-kilometer-per-hour winds. The catch? You can't get rich here. The atmospheric pressure is 100 times heavier than Earth's. Our hero would be crushed flat before he could pocket a single gem. Finally, we reach the end of the line. Neptune. Sitting a whopping 30 times farther from the sun than Earth, this second ice giant is plunged into almost total darkness. Just like its cosmic twin, Uranus, Neptune's outer layers are bitterly cold. But don't let that fool you. As our two-handed stickman dives deeper, the immense pressure cranks the heat up to an insane degree. Down at the rocky core, it's baking at 7,000 degrees Celsius, which is actually hotter than the surface of the sun. And yes, Neptune puts on a spectacular show too. The extreme pressure crushes atmospheric methane until it literally rains solid diamonds. But surviving long enough to see that bling? Nearly impossible. Neptune is home to the most violent weather in the entire solar system, blasting our hero with terrifying supersonic winds that literally break the sound barrier. Basically, it's the darker, windier twin of Uranus, and another terrible vacation spot. If you enjoyed this journey, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to comment and suggest what we should explore next.